What actually happens when millions of users hit a web application at the exact same time? How do these massive global systems just scale instantly without completely crashing? Think about a sudden ticket drop for a massive concert or a breaking global news event. Renting a single server? Yeah, that just doesn't cut it anymore. The secret is cloud-native architecture. So we're diving right into this masterclass explainer on cloud-native deployments, and we're specifically looking at PaaS and FaaS. We're covering the cloud scaling problem, PaaS with containers and microservices, managing clusters with Tanzu, FaaS serverless event-driven apps, and a quick summary. By the end of this, you are going to confidently understand platform as a service, how to wrangle applications with Kubernetes and Tanzu, and exactly how serverless FaaS works out in the wild. Let's jump straight into Section 1, PaaS, containers, and microservices. Okay, to really visualize PaaS microservices, imagine a massive, high-end restaurant. In an old-school traditional app, everybody is crammed into one kitchen doing everything. Total chaos, right? But in a microservices architecture, you completely separate the tasks. The server is taking the orders out front. That's your Next.js front-end web service. The chefs sweating it out in the back, cooking the food. That's your Express.js back-end service. They operate completely independently of each other. But they both still need ingredients, so they both connect to one central pantry. And in our Azure example, that central pantry is a single PostgreSQL database. So how do we actually build out this restaurant? Well, there's a pretty clear progression. Step 1, you set up that PostgreSQL database in Azure, making sure to lock down the network security. Step 2, we actually code out the microservices. We use Express.js for the backend API and Next.js for the front end. Step 3, we containerize this code with Docker. And finally, step 4, we orchestrate the whole thing with Kubernetes. Now let's zoom in on those last two steps, because that is literally the secret sauce of modern cloud computing. Okay, so Docker containers. A container is essentially this incredibly lightweight, standalone, executable package of software. It holds your code, your libraries, the system tools, literally everything needed to run the app. Bringing it back to our kitchen analogy, it's like taking a chef, their favorite spatulas, and their secret recipe, and putting them all into a sealed, portable box that you can drop into literally any kitchen on Earth, and they'll cook perfectly. We encapsulate our code into these Docker images and push them up to a storage area, like the Azure Container Registry. But here's the catch. Who actually manages all of those boxes? Well, that is exactly where Kubernetes, or specifically Azure Kubernetes Service, steps in. Kubernetes is the ultimate restaurant manager. It automatically pulls those Docker images from the registry and deploys them into worker nodes, which we call pods, inside a cluster. So if 1,000 users suddenly hit your website, no problem at all. Kubernetes automatically spins up more front-end containers to handle the rush. Wait, let's pause here. A really common question pops up at this stage. If all these containers are buried deep inside an internal Kubernetes cluster, how in the world does an outside user securely talk to them? The answer? Ingress controllers. We use HTTP application routing to create a fully qualified domain name. Basically, think of the ingress as a really smart bouncer at the front door. It looks at the web address you typed in and securely routes your specific request to the exact right container inside that cluster. Moving right along to Section 2, managing clusters with Tanzu. Running massive enterprise Kubernetes environments? Yeah, you're going to need some heavy-duty tools for that. VMware Tanzu on AWS is practically designed for this. In our setup, a developer provisions an AWS EC2 instance. They install the basics, like Docker and kubectl, and then deploy the Tanzu management cluster. It essentially gives you this centralized control plane to oversee your entire infrastructure, no matter how sprawling it gets. And Tanzu uses some fantastic visual tools. Take QYard, which acts as a demo app to test the cluster, or more importantly, Octant. Octant is a visual web interface, and it's an absolute game changer. Instead of staring at endless lines of text in a terminal, trying to figure out what's broken, developers can actually visually inspect cluster health, check up on pod status, and read application metrics right on a dashboard. Okay, quick knowledge check. We've been talking about PaaS and Kubernetes, which is brilliant for an always-on web service. But what if your application only needs to run occasionally? Like maybe once an hour, or strictly when a user uploads a specific file? Paying to keep a massive Kubernetes cluster running 24/7 for a task that happens once a day? That is a massive waste of money. Which perfectly leads us into Section 3, FaaS, Serverless Event-Driven Apps. Let's put these two side by side, so the difference is crystal clear. PaaS is always on. You allocate the servers, you run the Kubernetes clusters, and you pay for continuous capacity. FaaS, or function as a service, is completely serverless. The cloud provider handles all the underlying infrastructure for you. You simply write a little snippet of code, a function, and tell the cloud exactly when to trigger it. Think of it like a motion sensor light in your driveway. That light bulb doesn't just sit there burning electricity all night, right? It costs nothing and does absolutely nothing until an event, like someone walking past, triggers it. Boom, it turns on instantly, does its job, and turns right back off. With FaaS, like Azure Function Apps, you are only billed for the exact milliseconds your code is actively running. Let's map out exactly how this flows in an Azure FaaS environment. Imagine an IoT temperature sensor. First, we have our producer function, which generates the telemetry data. Second, it fires that data over to an event hub. Third, the second that data hits the hub, it instantly triggers our consumer function. And finally, that consumer function processes the data and drops it into a Cosmos DB to store the records. I want to highlight the critical middleman here, the Azure Event Hub. This is not just some simple holding queue. It is a massive big data streaming platform. We're talking about an event ingestion service that can easily handle millions of events per second. It's essentially a shock absorber. So if a million temperature sensors all fire at the exact same time, the Event Hub catches it all smoothly and triggers the consumer functions without breaking a sweat. Then we hit the final step. The consumer function wakes up, grabs the reading, and processes it. But how does it actually save that data? Well, in Azure, the developer uses an output binding in the code. This automatically connects the function right to our Azure Cosmos DB. So the code just seamlessly writes the telemetry data directly into the database. No messy connection strings to manage. It just works. Wait, hold on. This is super important. If we don't have dedicated servers to log into, because remember, the cloud provider is managing all of that behind the scenes, how on earth do we actually monitor a serverless application to find a bottleneck? The answer is application insights. Azure generates these incredible application maps that visually represent all your distributed components as individual nodes. The arrows connecting them, those are your HTTP calls. So if your consumer function suddenly loses connection to your Cosmos DB, the arrow on that map turns bright red. You see the dependency failure instantly. Honestly, it's an absolute lifesaver for monitoring serverless logic. All right, section 4, summary and next steps. We've covered a ton of ground today, but if you remember just 3 things, make it these. 1, use PaaS and Kubernetes for your robust, continuous web services. 2, manage those sprawling clusters efficiently with visual tools like Tanzu. And 3, for short, event-driven tasks, switch over to FaaS to completely eliminate infrastructure headaches and save some serious money. Which perfectly sums up our final thought for the day. The true power of the cloud isn't just renting computers, it's orchestrating services that scale instantly so developers can focus purely on code. That is exactly why these architectures are completely changing the game. We're no longer obsessed with hardware, we just focus on the logic. So, leaving you with this. For your next application, are you going always on or event-driven? And honestly, what happens when you need to run those apps across Azure and AWS at the exact same time?